Hello everybody and welcome back to another installation of And She Rants. Let me tell you something. I done made this video 4 or 5 times. The devil tried me, okay? Didn't want you to get this good word, but I took a break. I figured out the stuff with my camera and here we are back. And I'm finally bringing this quick-ish rant to you. And the topic is don't go back. Don't go back. In other words, face your fronts, okay? If you're African, you've been told that multiple times. But I think I've realized recently, as I've been just thinking and reflecting about myself, doing the work to try to get to a better level and a better version of me, that there are instances where there are things that used to make me suffer, that used to make me cry, that I went through, that I moved past. But you give it a year, you give it 2 years, you move on. And somehow, maybe due to social media, maybe due to friends, whatever, I find myself looking back on old things, missing people, missing communities, missing situations, missing parties, missing an old life that I actually begged to be delivered from. That when it was happening, I was like, this is the worst part of my life. It caused me to be unhappy. It sent me into a state of depression, but somehow moving past that, moving beyond it, the time that's between it has got me confused looking back, forgetting exactly what that situation really was like for me. So the topic for today is don't go back. And I'm going to give you 3 things that you need to do to work on so that you don't confuse yourself in missing an old life and turning back to things that you should just leave behind you. Okay. So the first thing to do in trying to figure out how to prevent yourself from going back to that old life is you need to learn to discern what your inner voice sounds like. For me, I'm a person of faith, and so my inner voice, I'm talking about God speaking to me. And it took me a very long time as a person who loves God and I go to church and I did all this stuff. I had relationships at a very young age, but it took me forever to learn what God's voice sounded like to me. Because for me, there were just all these other voices in my head. There was my voice, there was my mama's voice, there was my dad's voice, my friends, there were other people, other pastors that I listened to. It was just hard to determine when is God speaking to me and when am I just kind of low-key making it up or basing things off of what I've heard before. So I finally got to a place where I realized that learning to discern the voice of God, or for you, learning to discern your inner voice, takes work. It takes practice, and it requires you to figure out who are the people, where are the places, what are the things that I do where I feel like I heard that voice confirmed and it was just true. I call it my knowing place because it's I actually know that this is truth for me, whether or not I want to do the thing, whether or not I want to believe the thing. So you have to figure out who are the people that you're around when you commune with them that you feel like God is speaking to you. Where are the places that you go? Obviously going to church or something like that, or even going to certain music events. I feel like music is my love language with God. I actually feel like music is God's love language with us. And so there are certain kinds of music when I'm around that I just feel fed. So identify the places, the people, the things that make you feel fed. And that is usually where the voice of God speaks to you. That is usually where you're able to cultivate that discernment and understanding of what it sounds like to have your inner voice speak out. So the first thing is learn to discern what that inner voice sounds like for you. Because you don't want to be confusing it with the devil's voice, because the devil's voice gets real familiar sometimes when you be in your problem space. We're not even going to get into that today. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is you don't just have to learn how to discern the voice of God or your inner voice. You have to trust that inner voice. Okay, if you're anything like me, all of my friends tell me, you don't listen. That's your problem. And I feel very disrespected by that. But the truth is, I sometimes get into a situation where it's I know what's true, or I even become that kind of person who's addicted to the feeling of hearing the voice, the feeling of getting a word, the feeling of going to church and feeling like the pastor spoke to me, the feeling of reading books, getting my boundaries books out, figuring out my dating life, the feeling of just doing that work, of writing and journaling and whatever. And yet I continue to get a word, but I never listen to it. If you've ever been in that position, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get a revelation, you figure something out for yourself, you have an aha moment, and yet That's where it ends. That's where it ends. And you have to learn how to trust that voice inside of you and actually do the things that it tells you to do. One of the biggest lessons I've learned has actually been in dating. So I remember there's this one instance. I was kind of talking to this guy, okay? I did some things, probably shouldn't have done, whatever. I don't, like, we're not going to get into that, but I kind of felt like I wanted to develop things past where they were and get to know him better. But there was just something, like, I'm telling you, he did no wrong. He was fine. He was tall. He was smart. He had it all together. He just was, I was like, you're checking a lot of boxes right now, okay? So I'm interested. But something literally in my spirit was like off that made me like behave in a certain way also towards just questioning things, just a lack of trust. And if you understand and know that inner voice, then you will be able to say, I know this is not me being crazy, because sometimes people will be like, don't be crazy, don't be this person, don't be like making yourself feel away, like whatever. I was in a space of just always questioning things about this one individual. And every time something would happen, I would like hit up my friends like, nothing's wrong, but I just feel away. Nothing's wrong, but I just feel away. And like a few months went by, and you know, whatever was speaking to me in my inner voice showed itself to be true in that circumstance. And I wondered to myself, had I just listened to the voice that spoke to me in the first place, I would have avoided all this mess. And yet, if you're anything like me, you tell yourself, oh, I hear that voice telling me not to do it, but I'd rather make the mistake and learn from it. I'd rather go through all of this problem and issue and deal with it myself, and come out the other side saying, oh, okay, like at least I got to know for sure. At least I really saw, at least I gave it a chance. Some things some things don't need a chance. Everything doesn't need a chance. You don't have to let yourself suffer. You don't have to let yourself go through some series of pain just to prove to yourself that you gave things a chance. If God speaks to you, if your inner voice speaks to you and tells you no, don't do, learn to listen to that voice and don't do. And don't require a need to go through pain that God is trying to protect you from just to say, oh, at least I gave it a chance. So that's number 2. Not just to discern the inner voice, but learn to trust and listen to the inner voice. That's 2. And the third thing is, you need to stay away from the people and the places that will ask you and force you to look back. Stay away from the people, places that will make you look back, that keep you looking back at things. So one of the things I realized recently is that every time I kind of got around someone who was a part of my past, I started talking about it a lot. I started thinking about it a lot. I started reminiscing. And while I was like, oh my God, woo, child, thank God I'm delivered, it kept me back in this state of just always comparing where I am to where I've been. And that actually doesn't help me at all. That doesn't actually move me forward. And when I say that thing of face your front, face your front. Stop worrying about the things that you've already been delivered from. You can thank God and be grateful. But your worry about, things that I've been through or where they're still at and what's going on with them and your little stalking that you do on the interwebs, or even the ways that you like accidentally interact with things. Like, I'll give you an example, like fully transparently, because I've done my very best to not be super specific about past relationships. But in this scenario, I just feel like it's necessary to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. I used to work with my ex, and I love everybody that I worked with in my past job. I have great relationships with them. And so I just kept seeing him pop up in everybody's story and everybody's pages. Like, I'm just living my beautiful Black life, minding my magical Black business. And there he goes, showing up again. And I'm just like, it's not an issue because I'm no longer like angry about anything and I'm no longer pressed about anything, but it's a resurfacing that I don't need. It's a resurfacing that I'm like, oh, I wonder what this person's up to. Oh, I wonder what's up. I don't want to know. I don't want to be concerned. I don't want to be worried. I don't want to be thinking about it. I don't want to go back even in thought. I don't want to get angry again. I don't want to feel no types of way, positive or negative. I just want to look and face my front. So the thing that I had to do was to be honest with myself and say, there's some people that, boop, they just have to be muted. Like, I can't come on across their stories on whatever platform. I can't come through their snaps. I can't be on their page looking at, because people are just going to show up things that just bring back past experiences that I'm far beyond. And even beyond, that example, let's say, you have a certain environment that you used to be in. You've been able to move forward and develop positive relationships, but you're missing the environment you used to be in. You're missing the things you used to do. You're missing the people you used to be around. You're missing the life that you said you didn't want anymore. You're missing it because you're just exposed to the highlights and snippets of who those people are or what that community was like. But you know that you've been delivered, okay, from that situation. You know that when you were actually in it, you hated it. You know that it's not the right thing for you to be around. You can get yourself confused because of what you're exposing yourself to and what you see. So my last piece of advice is to stay away from the people, places, things that cause you to look back. You can even meet new people in your life that you talk to about things that you've been through, and then they just keep resurfacing things. They have certain traits and certain spirits that just remind you of past things. Stay away. Stay away, because it's not for you. Anything that causes you to look back, return to sender. That's it. I don't need it. I don't need the relationship. I don't need the environment. I don't need the social media follows or likes or whatever, or posts. I don't need it, because I'm looking ahead. Okay? So those are my 3 pieces of advice. We finally made this video. Glory be to God. The devil thought he had me. Okay, tried it with my videos not uploading. Talk to me. Tell me, what are things that you've somehow moved past but somehow got yourself looking back on? Let's have a dialogue. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you liked the video. And yeah, I'll see you next time for the next rant. Bye-bye.